Certainly, the emergence of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is one of the most important developments in the Middle East. He is trying to remake Saudi Arabia the most important country in the Arab world. And he's doing it in a way, let's say he's breaking dishes rather than seeking consensus. And we see this in, first, his dramatic ascent to becoming the crown prince, moving all of his competitors out of the way very, very quickly. His dramatic reform program, which is something that really is going to change the way in which politics and business is done in Saudi Arabia, and this rather aggressive foreign policy, which we're seeing in the very nasty spat with Canada, of all countries.
It's hard to... I don't want to view everything as an American, obviously, Steve, but I don't know who to root for here, but I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said that a stronger Saudi Arabia would be something we would want in this country versus Iran. And it looks like that has come to pass. I mean, if you look at what's happening in Iran right now versus Saudi Arabia, I mean, it's like staggering. But then the minute I start thinking Saudi Arabia is a great friend, you know, I wonder about the hijackers. I wonder about everything else. I wonder about OPEC. I wonder about oil. I don't know. You know, it's tough to figure out. I think we need to be detached and let the chips fall where they may, not get too involved in all this stuff.
Well, I think in a way, you have to look at Saudi Arabia in a somewhat different frame. Is it strong? Certainly, Mohammed bin Salman can bring significant kind of brute political force to bear on his opponents within Saudi Arabia. But, of course, his efforts in Yemen, his effort to impose a blockade on Qatar, other foreign policy efforts have been essentially a failure. So it's hard to say that Saudi Arabia is strong. I think in ways it's quite weak. And then, of course, in the conflict with Canada, we're talking about Canada, a model neighbor of the United States, which was merely expressing its concern about the arrest of peaceful dissenters. And the Saudis have overreacted in a way that actually makes them look weaker,
but Stephen,
and honestly quite foolish.
My question is why the West, if you will, and why the business community, which has been very happy to take Saudi money and effectively placate all of this, at some point is there a line in the sand where people say, you know, we're not doing this anymore?
Well, as I said, Mohammed bin Salman is trying to change the way in which politics and business is done in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, pardon me. That is, in a way, somewhat destabilizing. Over the course of many years, there's been an elaborate consensus-building process within Saudi Arabia, much of which is done behind closed doors. Mohammed bin Salman has essentially thrown out that model and is now seeking to accumulate as much power as possible. This has created dissent and fissures within the royal family, some of which you see creeping out, some of which you don't. It's a country that we often think of as stable, but I think we should think of more in terms of relative instability.